Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel over here on Patreon. It's just us again. Don't have that Saturday rowdy crowd to deal with. But, you know, got to thinking about a lot of different things over the weekend. And a big question that just kind of bubbled back up is, why do people prep? Why do people prep? I know why I prep, and I think that if everyone thought like me, there just wouldn't be any more problems. But since we don't all think alike, we all come at things from different experience, different perspectives, a different lifestyle. So we ask this question: why are people prepping out there? Is that an important question we need to ask? And I think that it is. Because the reasons why people prep will determine the energy they put into it. Their plans will fall into line behind that concept of the need. Right? The need causes action, and then so the type of need or the perspective from which the need comes, it's going to drive them a certain way. Some people believe that we're going to have all-out civil war. So what is their main prep focus? Self-defense. Right? Other people think we're going to have an economic breakdown. So they don't think about the food or maybe defense as much. They're just thinking about money. And so what do? Well, they want to stack gold and silver, get real assets. Right? And so that's where their focus is. I kind of mentioned that briefly in the video the other day when I watch economists on YouTube talking about what is going on, and they end up at the end saying, you know, you should probably put some food aside and get some other things. Kind of cracks me up that to them prepping is kind of an afterthought because they're busy prepping with their money first. Anyways, there's a couple other ways to look at it that I think we should address here. You know, do you prep because you have hope, or do you prep because you have no hope? And this idea and these concepts, some of them came from a patron who put their ideas down. But this question of hope I thought was interesting because the need or the reason behind prepping for me didn't change. We have all the same reasons, but my perspective changed a little back when Trump was elected. And it's continuing to change in one direction. But the need to prep still exists. That has not changed. But this question of hope. I used to prep because I saw what was coming. And I really thought, hey, look, these people are idiots. They're going to ruin the whole planet. Right? They would rather burn everything down than let everyone go free. So I didn't have a whole lot of hope for the future. Not a lot of hope. Not when I was younger. Even though I had my whole future in front of me. Now as I'm a little older, things have changed somewhat. Before Trump was elected, hell, before Trump was even a candidate, I was having a conversation with Luke Banter, who used to have and still does, YouTube stuff. A Canadian fella, ex-policeman. Nice guy. And I said, you know, we need to start thinking about what comes after shit hitting the fan. And we had quite a nice discussion. You know, what kind of economy can we expect to see? What kind of government do we expect to see? What ideas will people reject? What ideas will people accept? And that kind of got me thinking a little further into the future, trying to think about the different ways that could turn out. So when you look at shit hitting the fan, does it give you hope that we could fix things? Or does it just take away and dash all your hope? You know, my initial idea, mine, was the concept behind prepping was to survive, to survive shit hitting the fan, because it's going to be such a trial. You're going to need, right, a lot of food. You're going to need a lot of water. You're going to need a good plan. You're going to need a lot of ammunition. You're going to need good people around you, or you're going to need absolutely everyone gone. There's not a whole lot of hope there in the future. But I think that's an important question I think everyone should ask. Hope. Now, the reason that's important is because when shit hits the fan, it's going to be just like today. We're going to be dealing with other people. That 10-mile radius around us. Those are the other people I'm talking about. So once you have your idea, hope, right? I'm hopeful, or, I don't have a whole lot of hope for the future. No hope, or somewhere in between. There's other people out, and they have the same thing going on. They're going to have the same questions in the back of their head. Now, a lot of this stuff really is subconscious psychology playing out. If someone doesn't have any hope for the future, they might be more destructive, self-destructive, destructive to others. Right? They could be more destructive to their environment, not caring. Right? But if you have hope, you're going to care about yourself. You're going to care about the environment around you in a literal sense. Right? I don't have a lot of hope, me personally, for people who are entitlement-minded, who expect others to do work for them. Essentially, for socialists. I don't have a lot of hope for those people. I don't think they're very intelligent. Or maybe I should change that and say their intelligence is expressed in other ways than doing what's best for them, especially when shit hits the fan. Because that's where we're going to drop back and we're going to participate in a Maslowian exercise, right? Making sure you've got that bottom pier. You're going to need food and shelter and clothing and self-defense. You're going to need those bottom rungs. You're not going to be worrying a whole lot about spiritual enlightenment and love and spiritual ascendancy. You're not going to be thinking about that a whole lot. You're going to be worried about, well, what's for dinner? Am I going to get shot today? Right? Or there's a lot of noise coming from that direction. I wonder what's going on. So, yeah, hope or no hope. I think that's really important. Like I said, when I started seeing what Trump was doing and talking about, I thought, holy cow. His message, or the way he's going about it, is totally odd, totally unusual. Right? We're coming up on 2 years of Trump in November. 2 years of Trump. Actually, it'll kind of be 2 years of Trump in January, because that's when he was inaugurated and became president, but elected in November. But the attitude kind of started changing. And since then, I've thought, well, if he can straighten up this fucking mess, not the mess that's going to cause shit to hit the fan, but the mess that we're in because of the path we've taken to get here, right? Then it started giving me a little bit of hope for the humanity that's going to remain, right? We can have a bad shit hits the fan and we lose 20% of the population, 50%, 70%, 90% if it's a bad one. Who is left and where does that go? Very scary stuff. It'll look like one of those Chinese cities that they built that no one lives in. If 90% of the people just disappear, it's going to be very, very odd. And I'm using that term lightly because I can't think of another way to describe it. But if you were to take yourself right now, transport yourself into 6 months after shit hits the fan when 90% of the people are gone, and you would look around and go, what an odd or eerie feeling, right? The lack of noise, the lack of people, the lack of cars, the lack of apparent, productivity. But it's not. Humans aren't really productive, right? Vegetables and food grows very quietly. Same with cattle, right? Agriculture, it's quiet. And there's going to be so many resources left that there's not going to be a lot of need for mines. There's not going to be a lot of commerce. People are going to be dealing with what's in their neighborhood around them. Anyway, so I wanted to re-examine this idea of what percentage of people prepare or prep for shit hitting the fan. It used to be 3%. I'm starting to lean on it's maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8%. Now, I'm not talking about total hardcore preppers like us, right? People that go, hey, you need food and you need a lot of it. You need water and you need a lot of it. And you better know how to get it, and you need self-defense and you better have good stuff. Not that type of prepper, but people who just go, not liking what I see. I need to get some food. So these prepper lights, let's call them that, prepper lights. I think there's a lot more of them than we realize. Now maybe they've got a month worth of food. Maybe they have one handgun. Maybe their idea, and I hear this all the time. Well, I'm just going to grab my shit and run for the hills. Well, they're not what I would call a hardened or seasoned or completely planned out prepper, but they're still a prepper. They really are. And I'm sure there are lots of people out there who are more well prepared than I am to an astounding and alarming degree. I mean, there's some hardcore preppers. Some of them have videos. Most people don't. Right? But they do video tours of their property, of their basements, of their food storage areas. Right? There's a lot of people that have got really elaborate plans out there, and then there's people that just don't. But there's still preppers. There's still a percentage of the population that thinks, having a month or two worth of food is a good idea, right? And so I always say, hey, just tell people and start getting them to go that way. That may be enough. That's kind of the hope I have, is that we could have a couple of weeks of shit, things could straighten up. We could have a couple of days of bad, things could straighten up. We'll have regional hot spots, certain cities or certain sectors within cities, maybe even in the country, certainly around the state capitals where there's a lot of political pressure, certainly around city halls where there's a lot of pressure. You can expect shit to hit the fan. We're going to have, so it could go on and off is what I'm saying. There's going to be interruptions in food supply. There's going to be interruptions in food production. If we have a shit it's the fan light, I am absolutely certain both state and federal governments are going to make sure that fuel gets to the farms. Now, why is that important? The production of food is required to feed our massive population. It has to be grown on an industrial scale. In order to grow on an industrial scale, you need to use tractors and equipment, because of the sheer acres that needs to be planted and needs to be irrigated and needs to be cared for, needs to be harvested, needs to be transported, needs to be processed to whatever degree, and then sent out to us. It's a very complicated process. This idea of food to farm or farm to food, it's becoming more popular with restaurants and people around the country trying to understand, how does food get onto my table? Right? To me, it's simple because I've lived it my whole life and lived around it and worked in it. But for a lot of people, they think the grocery store is where the food comes from, or factories. That's not where food comes from, right? That's where food goes to get processed and frozen and other things. But this idea of hope, well, we can have a massive shit it's the fan event, lights out. If the lights can come back on a week later, 2 weeks later, right, we start coming out of it. But in the meantime, that 2 weeks is going to be hellish. I don't want to underplay that. So I'm underscoring, yeah, we can have a shit it's the fan light, but we can still lose 10 to 20% of the population. And that's a lot of fucking people. Right? We're talking, say, 50, 70, 90 million people in the United States of America could die in a couple months because of lack of resources, lack of medication, lack of water, or outbreak of disease. Most common among them would be dysentery, people drinking dirty water. The elderly, of course, people who are sick, not getting medication, or just being right on that edge in the stress or heat or cold of shit hitting the fan, or the time of year when shit hits the fan could kill them off. Right? So let's look at this question of hope a little differently. Does prepping give someone hope? Right? Or does it dash it to pieces? You know, I talk to some people about prepping, and they're like, man, that's the end of the world. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that. That's not me. Right? That's their perspective. That's their personality. You know, first and foremost, my idea is to survive. Right? If I get hungry, I want food in my stomach. If I get sleepy, I want to lay down and rest without getting my ass shot off. But prepping does give hope. It's like, holy shit, when people realize, man, things are bad and this is what can happen. And I've had people talk to me like this. John, you wouldn't believe what's going to happen. I go, oh, I know, tell me about it. And then they tell me what they understand from their perspective. Maybe their uncle told them, or a friend, or their dad, mom, whatever. But prepping gives hope. They're like, man, I thought everything was fucked up, and then I got to start prepping, right? And that gives you the hope that you can make it through shit hits the fan. Whether it is Armageddon, Captain Caveman, or whether it's shit hits the fan light that could straggle on for days and weeks, a couple of months, but on and off, light duty stuff. You know, so I think Trump changed the concept of prepping to where I used to lean heavy on that. They're just going to fucking kill us, right? The Deagle Report, Georgia Guidestones, euthanasia, they want to kill us off. But with Trump in there, he seems to be fighting them. That gives me some hope that we're not going to go into that everyone's got to die and we're going to have 10% of the population left because people like Hillary Clinton and George Soros and Bill Gates and every other dirty bastard on the planet wants us dead because they don't need us anymore, because they've got factories to produce what they want with robots, and they'll have a small population that will serve them but won't be big enough or in a position to rebel against them. You could look at what Trump is doing right now as a full-scale rebellion against the deep, dark state. They are deeply embedded. That's why it's taking so long, what he's doing. And I mean, I'm just like everyone else. I want it finished. I want it done right now. Fuck, we know who the bad guys are. Let's just go down, knock on their door. When they open the door, you say, just get in the car. Don't make me shoot you now. And just arrest them. Arrest them. Take them off of the streets, out of the equation. I would love that. Hopefully it happens. You know, now I believe there's hope that the system can be fixed, but the debt, the problems are outstanding. They have to be paid. You know, even if they forgive all the debt somehow, miraculously, just say, look, nobody owes anything anymore, let's just start fresh. We still have a fucked up economy. We still have a massively bloated government that can't be paid for by us, with 40% of the population working for government in one form or another. City, county, state, right, federal, and then all those corporations that rely on government contracts serving that bloated government. They're not producing anything. They're providing sales and services to over-bloated government. So all those government people, they need to go away. Less than 5% of the population should be working for the government directly or indirectly. 5%. Maybe 10 max, but I'd like to see it down to 5%. You know, and a lot of that's going to be police, right? Law enforcement. It doesn't have to be what it is. It is massively scary. So our economy is suffering because it can't pay for huge government. But if you just got rid of all of those jobs, cut them all, just like, you know, decapitated the size of government, where would all those people get jobs? How much would they be worth and get paid? How would their bills be paid? That's the problem we're going to have, is an economy that doesn't have jobs for all these people that have had jobs that you have paid for. There are very necessary government jobs. I just don't think it needs to be 40% of the fucking economy. right? Because the other 60% that are not directly or indirectly working for the government are having to pay the bill. So, is shit hitting the fan? Is it still going to happen? In my opinion, yes. Is there a chance it won't? I say no. It has to in one form or another. And what I mean by that is there's just too much shit in the economy, as I just described, in one way. Just one way. You know, the government, the bloated government, the regulatory crap, the overhead of running that. And two, we've got the debt. We've got international problems of the same order. Everyone's in trouble. We're all interconnected. We all interrely. Right? And there's been this scheme by banks that create money, currency rather, out of thin air, and then they charge everyone for it. There's going to be, in the monetary system alone, there's going to be problems with that. So in other words, we're going to have shit hitting the fan because of the system reset. Right? But when it happens, we're going to have to deal with others around us. Those are the people that are going to be the biggest threat. The people in the 10-mile radius around us. Do they have hope? Or do they have no hope? If you look at the panicking, ludicrous stupidity that's going on right now, and I'm talking about socialists. These democratic socialists are the worst. The we hate Trump, the fuck Trump crowd. They have absolutely no hope for their system winning, which is why they're fighting and rejecting Trump so badly. They know that this is an actual, literal attack on them. Most of us go, what do you mean attack? All he's trying to do is fix the problems. Right. But the problems that you and I see are caused by those fucked up socialists and their banking system and their trade system that they've been running for decades and decades and decades. Those people, those lunatics, those socialists of all ilk have no hope now, and their hope is being drained from them. Like pulling the drain plug on your pickup truck and you pop it and the oil comes out and there's like a time limit. It is taking their will to live. So what is their reaction? They're becoming more aggressive. More aggressive to the level of violent. You know, when celebrities who couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag, these people are actors. They pretend to do things. They've never really faced a situation, in my opinion. Maybe a couple have, but most of them no. Being a stuntman is not real life. Being an actor is not real life. So these people in Hollywood, like Peter Fonda, that says, you know, Barron Trump should be locked in a cage with pedophiles. That's a violent reaction. You might say it's passive, because he's not going to do it. But he said someone should rip him from his mom's arms. Talk about hatred towards children and women. Right? Talk about a misogynist, pedogynist, you know, hating children and hating the women of others. That's a violent reaction that they have. Right? Another problem we have are all the non-conformist immigrants that are here. What are they going to do when shit hits the fan and things come down? Everyone is going to have hope or no hope. Right now, I know they're coming from Mexico, they're coming from other countries, or a percentage of them, because America has always represented hope. When shit hits the fan, there's going to be no hope for them. So, hope or no hope? Is Trump making things better, worse, or it just doesn't matter what Trump does? Is shit hitting the fan inevitable? Right? What is most important is that I can't tell you how it's going to be for you. I can't tell you what to think. What I can do, though, is discuss a topic, and then you are the expert in your world, just like I'm the expert in mine. I have my world, and I look around, and I see it, and I go, yep, shit, it's the fan. There's going to be nothing but trouble. I think we're all going to see that and say that. But what you do about it, right? But I do think the percentage of preppers is growing. And if we have a slow slide, very similar to we're on path with Venezuela. They just started years ago. But if we start getting into a Venezuela type problem where the currency starts to go inflation and hyperinflation, you can bet your ass a lot of people are going to go, I need to get prepped. I need to be a prepper. I need to do it right now. Things are getting bad. And that number will increase. At the same time, resources will decrease. Costs will go up because of competition, and then of course, inflationary issues aren't going to help things. Right? People are rather buying food and stocking up than doing other things, and then people not having money even to pay their bills. It's going to be a mess. Fucking mess. But prepping has always given me hope. And now there's a little bit of a different flavor of hope on there. It's not just about survival, but can we restore a system that actually is sane? So put your thoughts in the comments, if you will. I thank you for supporting the channel and supporting the effort. And please talk to people. Just give them a hint. Say, hey, things are looking a little shady. Things are looking this way, that way. Whatever it is you can speak intelligently about, speak about it with people and just say, it might be a good idea to have a little bit of food around the house. If you know what I mean, wink, wink, all right? You could do that. And get people. They may not be diehard. May take them 6 months to go full red pill, or a year, or maybe never. But if they get this much, maybe they'll only need this much to get through shit it's a fan, and that much is enough. That's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for shit hitting the fan light. Hope. Literal hope. Holy shit, John, you've got hope. Chance favors the prepared mind.